was in private equity in the 80s. We were all doing and no one was thinking. We were
have
just.
you seen The Wolf of Wall Street?
You know what I mean? And, I was 28 and completely wrapped in this. And now that I am a father and a grandfather and older and have perspective, I understand all of these mistakes that I made, and I want to use my wisdom and knowledge to help us grow further.
Yep.
Welcome back into the Armchair Politics Podcast. We've got a very special California edition today. We are getting into the California gubernatorial primary election. We're all three Californians, so I'm personally geeked with this. With me, as always, is Dr. Christopher Carter and Alex Smith. How y'all feeling about our state today?
Well, I got to tell you, there's a lot of panic in the room.
There's a lot of panic in the room.
People are walking around LA sweating.
Woo! So
not from the heat. Not from the heat either. Yeah.
Although bless that warm weather's come back. Bless you, Southern California weather. What, if you haven't heard, what all the hoopla is about is Emerson College polling just released a new poll on the gubernatorial primary election. You can see it up on your screen right now. And it's pretty scary if you're a Democrat, because we in California run a jungle primary, which means there is no Republican and Democratic primary. Republicans and Democrats run together, and the top two, regardless of party affiliation, make it into the runoff. And so if the election were to happen today and this polling were to be true, it's very possible that the Democrats could be shut out and we could have two Republicans in the runoff for the California governor's election. And that, I think it rightfully so, has some people panicked. I am here to tell you, don't panic, because this is a February poll and elections don't happen in February. And the same reason how the Indianapolis Colts are not the Super Bowl champions, because you don't play the Super Bowl in October and elections don't happen in February. So we should be concerned and we should be paying attention, which is why we're talking about this. But this is California. We're not going to have a Republican governor. We're going to focus on 9 Democrats, I think actually 8 Democrats, because we're only focusing on Democrats that are polling over 1%. Because if you haven't made it over 1% by this point in your race, then I don't see any viability.
Why are you running, man? Like, come on,
right,
now. At some point, you just gotta be like, look, you trying to steal people money at that point.
Trying to steal people money, trying to get attention so you can do something else down the road.
Exactly.
And we're a super lefty podcast, so believe me, I'm aware of Ramsey Robinson and Butch Ware. I've followed their campaigns since they announced they're not viable. And so we're gonna make this a golf episode. We're calling it the California Gubernatorial Classic, and we're first going to decide where the cut line is and who gets to stay and who is cut and who needs to get out of the race. Of the people we are going to talk about, we're going to talk about Congressman Eric Swallwell, California Superintendent of Education Tony Thurmond, former HHS Secretary Xavier Becerra, billionaire and I guess we call him climate philanthropist Tom Steyer, former mayor of Los Angeles Antonio Villlaraigosa, former congresswoman from Orange County Katie Porter, mayor of San Jose Mahan, state controller Betty Yee.
We weren't worried about messing up his name. We were just like,
we really were. We all kind of agreed that it was like it's gonna be like this.
Mahan. I think it's I went with both, so I got it. I know I got it both wrong and right.
There we go.
I love this poll that we're looking at because I think it's really accurate for how California typically votes. If you're looking at this, Bianco and Hilton. Bianco has 14%. Hilton has 17%. That comes out to about 31%, which is about where Republicans top off in California.
In statewide races, yeah.
In statewide races.
Yeah.
If you look at 2020, they got about a third of the vote. Joe Biden got about 2/3. Kamala Harris performed a little bit worse, but typically California is about 2/3 voting for Democrat, 1/3 voting for Republican. So I think the Republicans have kind of topped out at where they can get. So they're going to kind of stay level. I think all of that 21% undecided is almost all going to go to Democratic voters. So we're going to assume a third of the votes are going to Republicans, which means we have 2/3 of the vote, 66% of the vote available for Democrats. And by some quick calculation in my head, that means that if we want to have an all Democratic runoff, which I think is incredibly important, because sure, if you have one Republican and one Democrat, the Democrat's going to win and we're going to have a Democratic governor. The reason why having no Republican in the runoff is incredibly important for down ballot races. Without a Republican at the top of the ticket, it really drives down Republican turnout and will create for more Democratic wins. So that's what we're shooting for, and that's where we're shooting to put our cut line. And y'all tell me if my math is right. But so to make sure that we have 2 Democrats who land over what Steve Hilton is at 17% right now, that means we need to have only 3 viable Democrats in the race. Because that way, even if they're split, if all of their percentages are split evenly, they're all going to end up at about 21%. And we'd still have 2 Democrats, no Republicans in the runoff. Everyone below that. So we're going to put a tier list together where we're going to have multiple tiers within our cut lines, but everyone above the cut line stays, everyone below the cut line goes. Is there anyone that, Alex, when you were watching the gubernatorial election, that really stuck out to you?
I got to tell you, he's not going to win anything, but Tony Thurmond my man was saying all the right things, and he was saying it in a way that was really compelling. You know, the debates are really hard because you have a million candidates up there, and they're basically, you know, they're regurgitating the very rehearsed, debate prep. And Tony was basically saying, yeah, abolish ICE. Let's build more affordable housing. Let's actually build affordable housing. He went on about rebates with regards to energy costs. Like, he was actually talking about some real stuff.
Real
and I was
things.
looking at that brother, and I was just like, boy, you ain't gonna win nothing. But I'm glad you're there. I'm glad you're there. Hey, look, he's the guy.
It's perfect.
He's the guy
I want to cut in
program.
because you led me. So we're not doing specifically comps in this episode. I pulled up our tier list, and we're gonna tier all these people. But I completely agree with you, and that's why my comp for Tony Thurmond is Bagger Vance. Because he's saying all the right things.
Magical Negro.
Magical Negro.
Oh,
hey, man.
He's there to give the white man his confidence,
Exactly.
and then just to step away.
And to
Like,
step
here's all the
away.
stuff you should say, and then I'm gonna go. Oh,
Right.
man.
Here's your club,
Wow.
sir. I mean,
Oh man, that's crazy.
And I hate it for him because I really like Tony Thurmond. I've been following him now for probably about a month on social media, and he seems like a real guy who is down to earth, who would do good things for California. But he's polling at 2%, and not even, and he doesn't have the money to do it. And I got personally, as a parent to a special education LAUSD student, I would love to see someone prioritize public education in the governor's office. I genuinely like Tony Thurmond, and I want him in the runoff. I think he is easily one of the 2 most qualified, best candidates in this race. And if I could put up a billboard, I would put up a Tony Thurmond billboard, because that man needs more attention in this race.
yeah, no, I think he's the guy that won the Pro-Am and got the invite to the tournament. You know what I mean? I think he's got, and Carter, I'll switch this over to you, but I think he actually is speaking to issues of poverty, because he actually spoke about the ways in which poverty affected his life and his family. And one of the things that people need to understand is that when he's telling his biography, because and we'll get into this later about everybody in the debate starting with their biography that was unfortunately just whatever, he actually talked about, and his life is about this idea of you can have systemic poverty, or poverty that is caused by institutions in the system, and then look at what you can turn into and still maintain a sense of kind of your moral compass. Go ahead, Carter.
No, I think he's just not. I agree with the comp, because I think he's not persuasive enough to pull people in, even though I think he has the kind of history and commitments to say these are the things that matter. I think if this was like a pre-TV, like if we go back to where it's just like you just reading what people actually think, I think he might have a chance. Like, you know what I'm saying? If people just actually could read, but you know, people don't really read anymore, you can actually see how he might have a chance because of his policies. But no, I think he's not pulling anybody in. And that kind of background is what gives him compassion to actually, you hope.
Exactly.
Well, I don't even say hope. Someone like that knows the importance of abolishing ICE because he's had to deal with police in a different kind of way.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that statement completely.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, because look at Xavier Becerra. Look at Betty Yee. Look at
But they didn't. They didn't grow up impoverished. That's what I mean. Like, you know.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
oh, they did.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
No,
And what I found like really like it kind of like scratched on my face metaphorically a little bit is to listen to Xavier Becerra, to listen to Antonio Villlaraigosa talk about their immigrant upbringing and their immigrant struggle, and then the first question they get asked about in the debate is about immigration and about ICE, and they got nothing but vague shit to say. So I like, and as someone who has watched, you know, an Angelino who has watched Karen Bass, you know, who came from honest, hard, you know, came from the struggle, you know, turn and become the most corporate friendly, police friendly, you know, candidate. Kevin De Leon, like Kevin De Leon was out there, you know, in the Rodney King riots, not on the side of the police, on the side of the other people, but the man spent so much time in office that he forgot where he come from. So I just genuinely reject the idea that because you came from poverty or, you know, from abject circumstance that you will constantly remember what it's like and internalize that. Tony Thurmond has, and that's great.
Yeah.
And that's honestly why I knew Alex was going to talk about Tony Thurmond, because I know my man. And I wanted to talk about Tony Thurmond first because to me, he is by far the most impressive candidate that is really underappreciated in the polling. And if you're listening to this, genuinely give Tony Thurmond a thought, because I think he'd make a really solid governor. Where do y'all want to put him on this tier? Because I want to put him above the cut list, but it is solely because.
I mean, honestly, unless something like compelling happens. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, what's going to actually happen to give him a chance to respond, right, to something in a way that sets him apart, right? Like, that's the thing. And like right now, like, I'm not, you know, who knows? You know, like ICE isn't really, they're here, right? You know, in LA, but not like they're in Minneapolis and stuff like that. And so that kind of thing has to happen, and he has to take advantage of that. And I just don't know. And it sucks to be like, oh, a catastrophe has to happen for him to get a spotlight. But I'm not sure. I mean, you the one who actually do the PR policy stuff. What would you tell us people to do to get his name out there, right? Like, I'm not good at, you know what I'm saying? Like, what would you say?
I would tell him the same thing I tell everyone, except for maybe Tom Steyer in this race. Do more. Do more. And, you know, lean into anything and everything you can. Like, lean into free media. I think, you know, he's posted a little bit. Like, I've checked out his social media. He's posted a little bit, but like, you gotta attack this like you're Zohran Mamdani, and the only one that in the race that is attacking social media like Zohran Mamdani is Tom Steyer. Spoiler alert, it's because he's hired some of Zohran Mamdani's team. And like you wonder why Tom Steyer's social media is so good. It's because he's got some of Zohran's people working on it. So where you know, I mean, listen, Tony, if you're listening to this, first of all, we'd love to have you on the podcast because we think you're a genuinely substantial person and would love to hear from you and would love to expose you to our 3 viewers. All of our moms would be really interested.
Very excited. Very excited to meet you. Very excited.
In hearing from you, Tony Thurmond. Man, what do we think? So I'm all of the warm colors.
Just
I
below
think
the cut. I would say put him just below cut, and then we'll just wait and see how things play out. Right.
All right. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the cool colors are being cut, and the warm colors are you're in the mix. We can change that later. That's just what feels right to me.
Yeah.
Poor Tony Thurmond. We're genuinely fans of you here. Let's move on. Let's go to a front runner. Mr. Congressman Eric Swallwell. Dr. Christopher Carter. I've got a real hot take on him, so I'm gonna let you start.
Well, you know what? Actually, I'm curious of your hot take because I think, like I said, when I was doing my research and trying to figure out like who these people are, I didn't have anybody that made me feel like they were saying anything. I mean, honestly, like I was just like in terms of saying anything that was going to captivate me, that made me feel like, oh, let me even stump for them. Like, because, for instance, even when I was trying to find stuff on Swallwell, like the basic stuff I was trying to get, actually, where's my notes at? Go ahead, because I'm trying to get.
So Swallwell, and from a policy standpoint in running his campaign, Eric Swalwell reminds me of Katie Porter. He feels like he's the front runner, and so he's just coasting. And he's like,
okay.
He's like, if I don't mess up, I'm gonna be fine. Here's the thing. One of the worst kept secrets among terminally online California political people is that Eric Swalwell's got some trouble in the pipe, and it's gonna happen. When it comes out, he's not going to catch charges. The rumors I've heard is not that he's going to catch charges, but that he's got some workplace things going on with some women that is just going to be too ugly for him. It's going to damage his good guy brand too much for him to be a viable candidate in this race. So if you want to go back and look.
Oh, you mean like pipe, like his penis? Oh, shoot. Okay, my bad. He's got.
Oh, the subtle puns, they come.
Sorry,
too.
it just landed on me.
I was
like in the pipe. I was like, wait a minute.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So yeah, one of the worst kept secrets, and like the thing is, like I'm not even. Sometimes I will. Sometimes like I know things that I can't share because people have told me. This I don't even know because people have told me. This I know because I'm just terminally online and I've seen people post about it who I know the truth. And Eric Swalwell's got some things that are going to come out. And hopefully it comes out sooner rather than later, because here's what genuinely scares me. People are like, oh, we're going to have 2 Republicans in the runoff, and then we're going to have a Republican governor. First of all, we can do a write-in campaign and still beat 2 Republicans in the Republican runoff. Like, that can happen, and it would suck to do it, but we could do it. The genuine nightmare situation for California, for me, is that we get Steve Hilton and Eric Swalwell in the runoff, and then Eric Swalwell's inappropriate workplace behavior, I'll call it, comes out after the primary, and then we're stuck in an Alabama Roy Moore situation where we've got a relatively moderate, quotey fingers, Republican in Steve Hilton, and we've got someone who has got some Me Too issues on the Democratic side. That's the nightmare scenario where the Republicans could actually win. So I'm hoping this comes out sooner rather than later because it's out there. I
mean, I think I am similar. And again, Kamala, obviously we know she should have won. And that's obviously, I think I saw polling that said if the presidential race was run again, she would win by like fucking 10 points or something like that. Like
today.
Today. I just think we have to move away from electing prosecuting attorneys. Like, and I'm like that. I was like, I know I had something I want to talk about him because I'm like, you cannot be wrapped up in a machine that is actually premised on not protecting people. I would argue in terms of how we actually do policing in this country, but really just about controlling bodies, like fundamentally about controlling bodies, particularly black and brown bodies. And even though he did work with, trying to get Trump impeached and all the other kind of stuff that actually on one hand is, I wish that obviously he could have done better. The fact that he is a prosecuting attorney, and the fact that he's endorsed by like Nancy Pelosi, to me just be like, I can't, like, there's a way in which he harkens back to a kind of democratic politics that we need to finally move past, right? It'd be like electing Gavin Newsom now. And it's better than a Republican, right? But it's not actually moving things forward. And I mean, maybe we can save this to the end of the podcast, but we do need to be honest about the fact, that Democrats have had majority power in California for a long time, and there's so many things that have not gotten done, right?
Yes.
And that's just
that's a part of it.
Being honest, right? And I mean, I'm not Ezra Klein. Like, I don't agree with much of what he says, especially now. I think Coates, Coates tore him a new behind when they sat there and had a conversation. But one point he did make in his book that, again, I don't really like, but I agree with this point, was arguing
You're talking about abundance?
Abundance, yeah. Like that we've had power
that
in this state
con
for
job.
so long. And I mean, it is. It's not. But again, the premise being, we have nobody to blame but ourselves in terms of Democrats here, and that's because we have a bunch of corporate Democrats, right? And so that's the part that is scary. To your point about
my favorite part about abundance is they're like, California has been run by corporate Democrats. I have the solution. More corporate Democrats.
From different corporations. From different corporations, though. Different corporations.
Yeah. So, I don't even know how we got on Ezra Clyde. Can I cut Ezra Clyde?
Oh God, I mean, I just, look, now you are our resident Jewish person, so you can cut Ezra Clyde. I'm not getting, like somebody gonna call me anti-Semitic out here because I'm
listen,
Ezra
they
Clyde.
have, if we have learned anything over the last 2.5 years, it's that Zionists have no problem calling other Jewish people anti-Semitic with completely no basis.
That's fair.
So,
That's fair.
Me being Jewish ain't gonna save me from nothing.
I was hoping.
So my tier for Eric Swalwell is the Tiger Woods of off the course behavior.
I pray it's not that bad. Just for
It's
him.
not that.
Okay, I was like,
It's not that bad. I mean,
but it's not
Tiger
good.
Woods' off the course behavior wasn't that bad, but it was scummy enough, right?
I mean, it wasn't good, dog. I mean, I don't know, man.
He's not showing up in the files is
Okay,
what I'm trying
alright.
to say.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because things can be bad.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
that bad,
yeah,
but it's also
yeah.
like Eric Swalwell's problem is like so many of his supporters are white progressive women, and when you get into some Me Too stuff, you're gonna lose that support. I wouldn't be surprised that like if he's out of the race in a month and a half because the thing about it is he has a really good job. He's not gonna want to stay and have the spotlight continue to get brighter and continue to shine more into what might possibly be behind closed doors. So I think he's going to actually be one of the first people to duck out.
Okay.
So that's really interesting. I'm curious if that bears out. He hasn't really been the focal point. I mean, he's kind of been the new focal point because of the fact that he's kind of came in and he's polling really, really well. He has name ID, which is massive. So I'll be interested to see if that stuff begins to come out. Is that going to affect his job in Congress? Because if you look at that guy Tony Gonzalez in the House of Representatives with Republicans, you got some Republicans are asking him to resign now. He says he's not, but anyway, that's just kind of a sidebar.
I don't think it's going to be enough to get him out of Congress, but it's absolutely going to be enough that it's like promotion.
Get him out. One thing I'll end with Eric Swalwell is I believe he is the safe choice, but that safety is not rooted in anything that is actually safe. And I think when he was running for president in 2020, he was in there for like 2 seconds, and I was like, okay, he's a young guy who was a part of the impeachments, and he was very outspoken from California, and I'm like, what does he have to say? And everything he said was, he basically was parroting JFK, a new generation of Americans are ready to lead. So every time somebody got asked a question, that's all he kept saying. And I was just like, oh, he doesn't believe anything.
Exactly.
Like there's no real core beliefs of like, hey, what's your vision for the country?
California, if you want Gavin Newsom 2.0, elect Eric Swalwell.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, that's basically it. That's basically
yeah.
So I want to. I think we got that. Let's hit some quick hitters because we've touched on them earlier, and I think
Betty
it's
Yee?
Betty Yee, man.
So I'm gonna say
Betty
this.
Yee, man.
I really respect Betty Yee, and I think she's a serious woman with serious credentials, and she really knows what she's talking about. That being said, she needs to yeet her ass out of this race. because
Yeah.
she's been in the race for over a year. Her polling, she's never polled above 3%. It honestly, so my tier for her is the 2 wood in tier, because she has no personality. She's 2 wood. Like
She's
like,
2 wood. Very
yeah.
nice golf
Well,
fun.
she was a comptroller. Was that what her technical title?
She was a state. She was a state controller for 2
man.
terms.
It's just money.
And listen,
I mean,
here's
you know,
so
you-
here's the thing.
When you get your refund check, guess whose name is on it?
I don't get no refund check, dog.
Is
anyway,
it? Is it?
There,
Is
okay.
I feel like it's not. I feel like it's something. Anyway, it's not important. I feel like it's someone else's name, not the controller.
You're probably right.
On the check, and maybe it's a treasurer or somebody. I don't know. That's not important. That's not important for here. But she's got to go. There's nothing else with Betty Yee. If she had been on social media for the last 8 years as the controller, being like, "Hey guys, there's a problem with our state budget," and I'm just, if she had been Kenneth Mejia, because that's exactly
Mejia.
what Kenneth Mejia
Yeah, let's
has been
just say
doing
it,
in
yeah.
LA for the last 4 years, Kenneth Mejia is going to get reelected in a landslide. LA's finances are a mess. But he's going to get reelected because since he's been in office, he's been screaming from the top of his lungs, "Hey, I'm your accountant. I'm telling you your finances are a mess. I can't do anything about it because I'm not legally allowed to, but here are your finances and they're a mess," and we love him for it. Betty Yee you can't tell us our finances are a mess now when you've been doing them for 8 years. Get out of here.
I mean, I think because she talks about accountability and transparency when, like, she was the person who was actually responsible for being accountable and transparent, right? And
Exactly.
So I'm like, I know this. We need to do an episode at some point on the Epstein stuff, because that, for me, I keep going back to, like, you know, when you give people power and you tell them that they're not held accountable, how they can weaponize it and abuse it. And I think money with our finances, especially in this state where we do pay a good amount of taxes depending on where you are. Yeah, like, I mean, you can't cast yourself as a financial savior when you've had the capacity, when you've been an opportunity, you've had the role actually to reshape policies, and you just haven't done it. And so, no, I think, I mean, let alone the stuff she said about, like you said, but the immigration. I mean, we'll get to the ICE stuff later on, but that's just sad. That's just sad.
Yeah. And we'll stay right there on for me on 2 wooden, and it's Xavier Becerra. The only attention this dude has gotten in the California's governor's race is when one of his staffers got charged for bribery, or for funneling money. He pulled the Steve Ballmer. Like he had a staffer do the Kawhi Leonard, where a staffer had a no-show job that he got paid for, and then when he got caught, Becerra was like, "I got scammed too," and I'm like, "Hey, listen, if that line ain't really working for a billionaire, it's not gonna work for you."
Let me read the quote so people know what we're talking about. This is from Cal Matters. It said, "A dormant campaign account held by Becerra, from which prosecutors allege Governor Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff, Dana Williamson, conspired with other political consultants to steal $225,000. Williamson is charged with helping to divert the funds to the wife of Becerra's longtime aide, Sean McCluskey, who has pleaded guilty in the alleged scheme." And that's the thing, man. Like, when one person pleads guilty, like when someone's like, it's over. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's over.
Take your 3% and give it to somebody else. Go home, Javier.
Yeah,
also, like, despite having, like, high profile, he was California AG. He was the USS Secretary of Health and Human Services, and despite all that, like, still nobody knows who he is.
Yeah.
So, like, just get out of here. You're 2 wooden. Sticking to not 2 wooden, but just has no chance, is Antonio Villlaraigosa. Yeah. And I kind of lump these 3 together because it's like we were talking about earlier, where they were just wishy-washy on ICE in just a really hilarious way. And it's like, y'all have never polled above 5%, but y'all are still taking the most, like, middle-of-the-road moderate positions. Like, do y'all not have any political instincts? I'm confused.
Yeah, I mean, his debate performance was, it was very bizarre. At one point, he said he's running to be the mayor of California.
He was very jokey.
He was very jokey. He just felt like, "Hey, man, this be a cool gig."
Yes.
I've done this before.
Can I give you my? I don't want to spend too much time on Villlaraigosa because I think it'd be a waste of time. Can I just give you my comp for him? Okay. Antonio Villlaraigosa is the Rahm Emanuel of Matt Leinart's.
Dang. Wow.
He won on a lower level, so people give him credit, but just ate built for it. Man, did
you see my face when I finally I was like, oh my gosh, that's like you went like it's like 4D chess. I was like, oh, I had to put it together. I was like, dang, that's good.
Out there butt fumbling. That's my boy, Villaragosa. So, like, I don't think Villaragosa is too wooden, but he honestly, I don't care enough of him to make another tier, so I'm just putting him in it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, let's go to someone who is I think genuinely more interesting, but also incredibly. It also is just running a tragic campaign. Our dear Katie Porter from Orange County. Alex, since your significant other used to be her constituent, you lead us off on Katie Porter.
Maya, the mighty have fallen.
Are we gonna say this? I think the point I want to get into, Alex. I want you to answer this. You're gonna talk about the mistakes she's made. Are these things the catastrophe that people are making them out to be? Right. I think that's because again, it's so early, or is it because she's a woman? And,
both.
And okay, all right. That's what I'm saying. So, Alex, I know you got to talk, but I think that to me is the overarching thing that I think is or overarching critique one might have to the way she's getting cast as having. What did you say? She said she double bogeyed the first two holes.
Oh man, she double.
I think that's being generous.
The first two holes. She's what
is it? What is it when you do terrible? Albatross is good. Is good, right?
Yeah, I think so. But I think
what's worse than a double bogey? Is it triple bogey?
I mean, you just keep.
Yeah, you keep going.
You keep
She's basically, and I'll pitch this stuck in the rough, where she just is hacking away in the high grass, and it's just once you miss hit, which is that interview that went off the rails where she was very combative and
let's be honest, it's not fair, but being unlikable is a death sentence for women in politics.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. Well, especially if you are considered a difficult person to work for, because there are a lot of difficult men to work for, and yet that's something that isn't really talked about. If you look at Amy Klobuchar, who, the moderate's moderate, was, in the 2020 election, same thing about her.
I'm going to put on my Dr. Strange hat for a minute, and I'm going to tell you there is one scenario in which Katie Porter becomes governor of California, and this is what it is. She hooks on with whoever is going to become governor of California and goes to run their FTC, their Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And she spends the next 8 years doing what she's genuinely good at, which is holding corporations accountable and making things cheaper for working families. She's genuinely talented at that and really good at what she does. Katie Porter with her whiteboard, except for when she's trying to say fuck Trump, because that's Katie Porter, I feel like, is just stuck in pre-COVID times, and that's part of her problem. But so if she does that for 8 years and works in a governmental agency and kind of builds up her Lena Khan bona fides, she can come back and run for governor in 8 years, and in 8 years we'll, instead of being like, hey, Katie Porter's we don't like her, we're gonna be like, you know what, she might be a bitch, but she's our bitch.
Yeah.
Because she's keeping us, you know what I mean? But that's not going to happen this time because she has nothing to show for it because she hasn't been in office. And she's just unlikable.
I think that is more, to me, the primary issue, and Alex, I'll toss to you. I think that her not being in office is her running for Senate was the mistake. I think she moved too early. I think that was she was very popular, and she's like, well, now I'm popular, let me do the next thing, right? And this is what happens, when you have a lot of, again, I feel like our political, and I've already talked about this one time, but I have to say it again. I think our politics are too overrun by lawyers. I think that's fundamentally the framers didn't. Look at me talking about some framers, right?
John Adams was a lawyer.
These people, it wasn't designed because lawyers are all
Alexander
about
Hamilton.
Constraint. They're all about constraint, and they're not about imagination. Lawyers are all about how can we regulate something to make sure that we quote unquote close loopholes or leave loopholes open that we want to have open. And I think that the challenge that you have is when you have that kind of mentality of I've done this and I should be doing the next thing, is you do come across as entitled. And I think that is Katie Porter's primary issue. And I do think if she, and look, I'm a pastor. I actually do believe in miracles. And by that, I mean the inward transformation. Like if somebody was just honest with her, like if Elizabeth Warren or somebody was like, look, you got to look at them in the mirror and be like, I cannot act in a way where I feel like people just owe me something. I have to tell these people why I want to be their governor, what I know I can do. I think the frustrating thing for me, from Katie Porter's perspective, is I think she has the kind of mentality, because I actually do want an aggressive, not the kind of faux aggressive that you see in Gavin Newsom, that social media is genuinely great, but he's not really trying to do anything. I want somebody to go up in there. I do want a ball buster. I want you to be a governor. I want you to, because we got too many billionaires and too many people in this state that's extracting wealth that aren't creating jobs. And so there's a part of me that actually is so frustrated that she's not the front runner, because and the last thing I'll say, and I know I already said I'm talking to Alex and I keep messing up because I'm talking too much. Elected women, women have historically, statistically, actually do better in public office than men in terms of their actual measurable outcomes, in terms of all this other stuff. It came out in COVID. That's when people first started talking about it, where the countries run by women actually less people died. Pretty good metric, and I think it says something about. I think that's meaningful, right, in terms of the way that patriarchal thinking actually has handicapped us. So that's a part of me that longs for her, but I
she's.
Know,
have you seen the video of her yelling at her staff?
I have, man. That's what I'm like.
She's not coming back. She's not coming back from that. I say this all the time. We are a country of vibes, and so I don't care that Katie Porter, is great off the tee. Like she can drive the ball 300. She can drive the ball 300 yards.
Like Happy Gilmore, man.
Yeah, but you just tournaments are won and lost on the green. Elections are won and lost with likability. I don't know if she's always been this way, but I think she's she's kind of enveloped that political narcissism that is not necessarily, it is pretty common but not healthy, and so I think she's staying in no matter what. But it's really sad because honestly, watching this campaign, it's like watching a coach lose the locker room. It's you know what I mean? And
I do know.
once a coach has lost the locker room, it's over. There's no getting it back. And that's unfortunately where I think she is. But I'm good with C tier.
I know Alex knows all about that with
Dennis Allen.
No, the coach that just got
Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly came in with his fake Southern accent from.
I had to ride with him too.
Honestly,
for 4
that's
years, man.
Katie Porter or Brad Kelly. That's a really solid comp, Carter. I really like that.
Look at that.
Yeah,
because again, people who are very, very intelligent and actually have the kind of raw skill set to do stuff, but just people don't like them. People don't like him. Brian
Kelly just wasn't a good fit in Baton Rouge, and Katie Porter just, I don't know.
Now all right, we're not going to go off the beaten path here, but I just will say that my, Ed Orgeron, who I have a special place in my heart, when my father passed away, he sent me a signed, autographed photo for our family the year we won the national championship, because my dad passed away the year we won the national championship. I always have a soft spot in my heart for Ed Orgeron, but after that championship, things went off the rails very, very quickly for him and the program. And, we
love the good old ball coach.
Oh, yeah. Sissy Blue and taking pictures with blondes in their bed.
If y'all don't
divorced.
Alex Smith is a diehard LSU fan, and I went to Tulane University, and I despise LSU football.
He despises LSU. We're both from Louisiana.
I love me some Coach Ed Orgeron.
Ed Orgeron recruited my nephew to play quarterback, and so now that we're all yeah.
Yeah, we're all connected to LSU somehow, and so basically, Brian Kelly came into the program, basically stabilized the program, create accountability, but again, just was not very likable in the building. Was not really hands on with the assistant coaches, and you got obviously.
And when you're not winning, you better be likable. The Armchair Politics Podcast is brought to you by Live Golf. Live Golf, where the Saudi National Wealth Fund can just buy an American sports league. Of course, Live Golfers are paid well. Do you know what that money is done? Live Golf. Yes, the name is ironic.
Yeah. Also, anyway. Policy. Nothing really moves me.
Yeah, she's actually gotten more moderate on policy too. I agree with you that everything has just been just been a disappointment. Brian Kelly, we miss you.
Have fun in Destin, Florida, with that LSU buyout money. Go ahead.
Hey, listen, that kid.
Man, give me some of that LSU buyout money.
It's so
I would
funny
have
that
fun.
like a couple years ago we were talking about like, oh, Ed Orgeron, $17 million buyout was so large.
Oh my gosh, that
How-
was literally 2021.
I know.
Yeah.
That just shows you how out of control I think the money in sports in general is. It's because of sports betting, and it's going for a tipping, but that's for another conversation. We got two more left. So as you can see, we've got the two Republicans up there just because you can see, so you can look at their faces. They're going to stay in the race. Here's the good news, though. If Democrats get their shit together and knock some of these less viable candidates out there, and we get to just have 3 Democrats left in the race, that's when you really put the pressure on Bianco and Hilton, because if they see that, oh my God, with 2 of us, we're going to be shut out of the race, they're going to start infighting, and they're going to start going after each other. So Democrats, be smart. It's already happening. I'm telling you, when they realize that there might not be a single spot for them in the runoff, it's going to turn into blood sport on the Republican side. So Democrats, be smart and put the pressure on the other team for once. We got 2 more to go. Who y'all want to save Tom Steyer for last and get into the...
I was just thinking the fact that you said Democrats be smart. That's why I just shook my head. I was like, Lord Jesus. All right. Well,
I know. I'm praying. It's not even like hard, but just the narcissism is going to probably get in the way. I do think that all of the wooden candidates are going to drop relatively soon because like they're all experienced politicians in the machine, and I don't think they want the smoke they're going to get if they stay in the race.
And also, I think fundraising, like I was looking at who's raised a certain amount of money, and they just haven't, honestly, they just haven't raised enough. I mean, I will say though, I think that is the thing that's going to keep Katie Porter in. And I know
yes, Katie Porter has money. I think Katie Porter's going to stay just because, I think she's already seen this. She's already seen this race in her mind and seen how it's going to go. And she's going to run it. She's going to finish running this race no matter what, just because of what she's seen, even though it's not going to go the way she saw it in her brain.
I think it's helpful you call that kind of political narcissism, quite honestly. And I think,
100%.
Same thing with her and Mayor Villagorosa. We have to move away from career politicians at some point. But all right, let's move on to.
I love that you brought up Matt Mahan.
Mahan.
I have a friend.
I'm gonna call him Mahan.
So shout out.
We're just gonna say it different.
Shout out to my boy who I used to do improv with, John Mahan, who is, I'm sure, throwing off my pronunciation of the mayor of San Jose. I love that you brought up funding and donors, because the mayor of San Jose is staying in this race because he is incredibly well funded by Bay Area tech billionaires. So if you're interested in Silicon Valleying the rest of California, he's your guy. Because all the tech billionaires love him. He is their guy. He's also super invested in Flock. Shout out, sponsor of the flow. Sponsor of the show. You know we are proud sponsors of Flock. Do not go to dflock.me to see maps of cameras near you. That's deflock.me to see where the government is spying on you. So anyway, my mayor of San Jose is a big fan of installing all of these cameras that ICE uses to help do search and to illegally detain people. So if that's your bag, then if you're into the surveillance state and want more big tech around California, I think he's an A-tier candidate for you. But that's the opposite of what I want. So he's going to stay in the race because he's got big money, but I have absolutely no interest in him.
I mean, I think obviously I have no interest in him. In the sense that we have got to move away from. I mean, you're talking about Bagger Vance and the magical Negro. I think there's a way in which we think about AI and tech as a kind of magic solution for everything, and that it's going to solve all our problems. When in fact there is no historical evidence that that's actually the case. Every
time I hear something about AI, I just know that not enough people finished watching the Matrix movies. Everybody watched the first Matrix, but nobody finished the series. It took the actual lesson from what artificial intelligence would do to a society, and it kind of is making me crazy.
Yeah, well, and I also think that people, they're being um, duped is hoodwinked. I don't know how you would say it. Like they're being bamboozled, right? And to believe that it's actually going to make their lives easier. And I think both of you, particularly Alex, as a creative, like this is eating the industry alive in terms of like art.
It's eating corporate industry alive,
right? I mean, but like, it is. It's eating everything because people are spending a bunch of money on it and it's actually not producing anything. But specifically, I think for like, in terms of the field that, we're in Los Angeles, in terms of entertainment and movies and all those kinds of things, like it's just slop. I think it's just like, yes. and so like that's the part that I think that, while he does, like I mentioned when I was doing my research, that he has had a strategy around homelessness in terms of building housing units and tiny houses.
Oh, there it is. He's not building houses. He's building tiny houses because he's building temporary homes. He's not building homes.
Yeah.
He's putting unhoused and homeless people into temporary shelters, and the people that are refusing for sometimes good reasons, he's trying to put in jail.
He is putting, not even trying, he's putting them in jail. Like that's what I found is he's actually he's arresting them if they deny it or if they just say they don't want to do it. And I think this is, housing in California is insane. Like, and clearly we need to do something different. And I do think building more affordable units is the way to go. And it's disappointing, right? When you actually have space, which they do have in San Jose, to actually do something different. Because they do this in Hawaii. I was actually in Hawaii and saw how they're building in Maui and how they're building like these kinds of units that are actually houses for people that are houses that is where they get to live, right? Until they're able to, especially after the fires, to get back on their feet to buy something else, right? So there's a way to do this. And I think he's going to try and play on a kind of futuristic platform for California. And I hope people don't buy into the lie, man. I just hope they don't buy into the myth because it's a bunch of BS.
The other thing is, like, bro, complete a job before you try and get a promotion. He was a one-term. He didn't finish his city council term, or he's a one-term city councilor. He's been mayor for 3 years, and San Jose is one of those cities. It's not like New York, where mayor has a lot of power. San Jose, like the city manager, really has more power in San Jose than the mayor does. So, like, why don't you stay? You've had like 1 or 2 good years, or maybe you're goosing numbers or just throwing people in tiny houses. Let's see how you do in a couple of years, Matt.
I think that maybe he thinks of himself like a Pete Buttigieg. I don't know, where he's trying to leverage this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, literally, it's like he's like, oh, I'm a mayor, I can leverage this, even though
he's also not charismatic or engaging in any way. If he wasn't, like, I'd almost want to put him in my 2 wooden tier because he really is. He's really he almost feels like a spoiler candidate. The Bay Area billionaires were like, oh, I don't like how this is going. I got, who can I throw in there? Especially because he got in so late. Where y'all want him?
I feel like we gonna get to this point. We ain't gonna have nobody on the ballot. This is the problem. This is the problem.
I'm gonna be honest. My 2 favorite candidates are Tony Thurmond and Tom Steyer, and I think Tom Steyer is the most viable candidate. So he's gonna be up there.
All right, Alex. Where do you want to do? Because I think we need to have a conversation about Tom Steyer.
Yeah, just put him in the 2 wooden, and then we're gonna have to eventually.
We got to get 3 people in the runoff, so we're gonna.
Well, we're gonna figure out who's gonna make the cut.
Yeah, you're right. 2 people in the runoff, but 3 people to make the cut.
This is gonna be tricky. All right, let's get into Tom Steyer because maybe I can start out with my critiques and then let me hear what you got to say.
I love that. So no. You go first, but I'm gonna give a little disclosure here because we believe in transparency at the Political Armchair podcast. I have met with Tom Steyer in person. My wife and I had lunch with him and a few other influencers about a month ago. Had an off-the-record conversation, and I also did some paid social media work with I was a part of the Yes on Prop 50 campaign that was bankrolled by Tom Steyer. So I wanted to get all of my conflicts out of the way before we started talking about that. So y'all know that everything where I come from. Go ahead, Carter.
No, fundamentally, I am against billionaires in public office. Like I'm against billionaires just in general. I'll be honest with you. Like I just don't I have a sign in my church, as I like to tell you, that says to be a billionaire is to commit a crime against humanity. And so That doesn't mean he's a bad person. I'm like, hey man, you know that. But what it does mean to me is that you have to be fundamentally, like literally, I'm just made up a word, fundamentally committed to giving away your money. Like you got to be, right. And I think because the only way to get that much wealth, in my mind, well, I wouldn't say my mind, statistically, is that you've had to extract surplus value from labor, right?
Yes.
And so again, obviously people read between the lines. This, you're talking to a Marxist. So that is how I think. And so that's the first thing. I do love that he's environmentalist. He's back liberal causes. He doesn't seem like a bad person per se. But I don't believe that people can get into high level public office without well, I guess I should say, I'm about to say high level office without experience and actually effectively govern. My concern is that I would be less concerned about that if people surrounded themselves with folks who actually knew how to govern, because governing a state is different than running a corporation. And that's the problem with Republicans. They always think, oh, it's hire a business person. It's not the same, man. You ain't trying to make money running the state unless you corrupt. You know what I'm saying? Which we see what's in office right now. You can, if you corrupt.
Well, so I think we could spend a whole podcast on this. I love talking to Republicans, and when they go on that, like, oh, we should elect a businessman and run government like a business. I would love us for us to run government like a business. The issue is when Republicans say they don't want to run government like a business. They want to run government for business. I'm fine running government like a business when the stakeholders are the constituents. Like, I think that's a great idea. You know what I mean? If we're trying to create value for our stakeholders, which are our constituents, yeah, I can run a governmental business like that. But no, Republicans, when they say they want to run government like business, they mean they want handouts for business. It's the same thing when you talk to Californians about homeless people. They say, oh, we need to get the homeless off the streets. And I say to them, no, you don't care about getting the homeless off the streets. You want the homeless off your streets.
You don't want to
Small
see
difference
them.
in the phrase, big difference in the meaning. Yeah, you care about seeing them. You don't care about their well-being. And so, I'm sorry, I apologize, but that's one of those things where that's one of my pet peeves.
No, it makes perfect sense. I'm curious about your pros for him, because I do think that I know the folks that the people that are in my social circles, which are going to be like, you know, mostly, you know, people of the more Marxist persuasion, are going to be.
Well, I mean,
if you have to. But
I'm a socialist, so so I'm coming from that same perspective. I've got both. First of all, I was surprised by his genuineness in person, and his willingness to just kind of back and forth and hear criticism about himself without like losing his mind. Because that can be hard, and especially listen, and like if y'all know anything about me, I'm pretty cutting, and so hearing criticism from me is especially not easy. And I'll lead with my criticism of him. I completely agree with you. You don't become a billionaire unless you have abused labor in some capacity, and you know, and if you look out, you know, like he before he got into environmental justice. You know, like his private equity firm was funding some pretty gross things. Like it's out there. Y'all can go look it up. And what I told him was the very first thing you need to address is your time in private equity. Because even if, you know, he was like the floweriest of flowery private equity firm, which he wasn't, you need to. People hate private equity right now because it's destroying America.
Like, name one good thing private equity has done. Just name,
exactly.
Give it one.
So I told him to his face that you need to be going on Hassan Piker, one of the uber socialist lefty podcasts, and you need to let them hammer you with every question about private equity they can think of for an hour. And I think it's a really easy case to say, shit, I was in private equity in the 80s. We were all doing cocaine and no one was thinking. You know,
have you seen The Wolf of Wall Street?
You know what I mean? I was 28 and completely wrapped in this. And now that I am a father and a grandfather and older and have perspective, I understand all of these mistakes that I made, and I want to use my wisdom and knowledge to help us grow further. But he's not making that argument. His social media is great and it's cute, but it's not, if you watch the debate, his story was, I started a company and it did really well. And I'm like, man, that's like a Republican describing crimes. Like, you've got to be open and you've got to be honest. He's running as a lefty populist billionaire, which is crazy, and I love that. But to genuinely solidify his lefty bona fides, he needs to answer his private equity questions. I will say about he has signed the Giving Pledge, which means he's a pledge to give away pretty much all of his fortune before he dies, which it's something.
That's something. No.
I think if you get into the Emerson poll even further, here's what I like best about Tom Steyer. We all agree that Zohran Mamdani's campaign is the North Star. And so what everyone's done is, since he's run, is they've made affordability their centerpiece of their campaign. They're saying they're making affordability the centerpiece of their campaign. And then they always say, like you look at Ray Huang running for mayor of LA. She literally is like, I want to make buses fast and free. Like, she literally is pulling out like a rent control. She's literally pulling out the best hits of Zohran's playbook. Tom Steyer is the only one to me that has actually taken Zohran's blueprint and actually mapped it onto something useful in another state. So he's the only one really talking about cost of utilities and breaking up the big energy companies. And I'm not an expert on California energy, except for the fact that I know our bills are too high and that PG&E starts a massive fire every 2 years. But he's the only one out there. And if you look at that Emerson poll, if you go down to what costs are affecting you in California houses, number one, housing, obviously, and everyone's talking about housing. Number two is cost of utilities, and Tom Steyer is the only candidate who's been consistently out there talking about utilities, and I think that he's found one of like Zohran's points that are simple pocketbook points that people understand and care about, and he's the only candidate in the California race that I've seen successfully do that.
I wonder if there is a way for him to, and I'd be curious to see if y'all two think this is possible. Is there a way to spin private equity positively? Because if he thinks about it differently, right? Because there's a part of me that's like, hey, okay, if that's what you think, this
isn't my comp for Tom Steyer, but this is how Tom Steyer needs to pitch himself as Blade. Yes, I'm a vampire, but I'm the vampire that's going to kill vampires. If Tom Steyer were to, you can't explicitly do that, although maybe, I don't know, that'd be a fun
that would be kind of funny, actually.
It'd be a fun video. But like that's Tom Steyer's pitch of how he wins and he's doing it a little bit. I like that I think he's really effectively taken on the billionaire moniker. I think it's been easy. It's been made easy by the fact that Gavin Newsom came out against the billionaire tax, and so Tom Steyer was just like, "I'm for it. I want to tax my friends," and I think that's really gotten him a long way.
That's oh god. Anyway, all right. Yeah.
Alex, you've been quiet.
I know he has been quiet, so I'm wondering, Alex, how you feel about, because eventually we do have to pick who we think needs to make the cut. I don't know if you said David 2 or 3, but I know what we need.
Three get to make the cut.
No, it was good. I wanted to kind of hear both your takes, because I think you guys make really good points. The only billionaire or person of extreme wealth that I felt comfortable with, I wasn't alive, is Franklin Roosevelt. And David knows, and I've said this before, is that him getting polio is the great equalizer. He understood suffering, because none of his money could save him from, that disease. And so because of that disease, he actually understood human suffering in a different way. So therefore, when he was running for office as governor and then president, he understood normal people. Like, I'm sure Tom Steyer struggled, but he doesn't really understand struggle, in my mind, in the ways in which I think is transformative to his life. And
can I make the argument to a way he might?
Well, hold on. Let me finish this real quick. I don't, and also I want to just make a point. Him saying I want to tax my friends is also like a thing that I'm like, it's the billionaire saying I know how they think, so a billionaire can, I'm the one that can fix it. He's not Trump, but it feels like I alone, like I can, I know how the billionaire system, I know how the world works. I know how our society and everything works with regards to money and wealth and how the billionaires get everything. Let me get in charge and then I can do it. Since I'm a billionaire, I know the loopholes. And to me, it's just like, I don't know, I don't care for that shit. It's just it does not move me at all. It does not move me. But you know what? He says a couple of things that are like, yeah, I dig it. I dig it. Yeah.
This we in a sad place. Go ahead.
We in a sad
Yeah,
place.
man.
Here's my argument to how Tom Steyer struggled, and I don't think Tom Steyer hasn't struggled, but I think that, and this is projection, that because he has spent the last decade or so working in climate change justice, I think he does have a little bit of perspective of like, we're blowing this planet up. Yeah. You know, like we're physically not going to last on this planet at the wane. He knows that acutely because he's been in this field for the last 12, 10 years, whatever. And so I think he understands that his money isn't going to save him. You know, his money isn't going to save his kids or his grandkids. And so I do think that there is some of that internal. It's not like Roosevelt. You know, it's
There's
not
a
like
difference.
It's not like 100%. It's not
In
like
terms of
it's
like,
not like being disabled.
You're
and
talking
having
about
that,
something coming up, and I'm talking about
100%. There's
something
a
that has happened that has
absolutely
transformed him.
100%. I agree with you.
But again, it's like, let me ask you both this: does any of these candidates? I probably know the answer, but I'm going to ask you this: did any of these candidates make you feel excited about living in California?
No, I think
the only two go ahead, Carter.
Man, I forgot his name. The first one that we did.
Tony.
Tom Steyer, you're right. It goes back to Thurmond.
And I'm like, you know, and like I said, like he's the only one who I think I was like, oh, okay, like excited about a possibility. That's all it is. It's like I was like, oh, but no. I mean, none of these candidates are, to me, the kind of exciting candidates. But we haven't had. When's the last time we had an exciting governor's race, man? I mean, it's been forever.
Was it Reagan and Jess Unruh?
The recall the last time was exciting was when Gray Davis got recalled and we elected Schwarzenegger. That was the last time it was exciting. Jerry Brown could be exciting too because he was just fiery. But you bring up a really great point that I think is important to talk about. To me, voting isn't about being excited. Voting, a lot of people talk about voting as like dating. You know, when W got elected, everybody was like, "I'd love to have a beer with him," and like. All right, like if that's how you want to choose your leaders, life's about choices. Personally, for me, voting is about harm reduction. Yes. And so I would love to be excited. Man, you know, Zoran would have been so cool to vote for. And I, you know, every now and then I get to vote. I was really excited to vote for Kenneth Mejia. I'm going to be excited to vote for him again. I think he's a great city controller. I think he's the best citywide official Los Angeles has. But I'm going to be just as invested in the mayor's race because voting is about harm reduction. And so I don't care that I'm not super excited about any of these candidates. It's relative. It's who's going to...
You're missing the question. Excited to live here. To live in California.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because that's not what... Voting's not about excitement. It's not about excited to be here. It's about who's going to make my life best in California.
Well, no, I think it is. I think I'm happy or excited to live in California with this person. They don't have to be the sexiest candidate, but they can have some things where I'm like, yeah, that actually is like.
Who is the sexiest candidate in this race?
You know who it is, David. It's Betty Yee. You better throw Betty Yee.
Okay, you know what? Though, I do. I bet that Betty Yee had it going on with.
Hey man, back in the '70s, bro.
I think that there is a
bad Betty.
I know we gotta move towards like closing, but I want to say I see Alex's point from a broad perspective when you think about the flight and migration away from California because of cost of living and because of all these other things. I do think that there's a way in which I think that question matters in as much we have to think about how do we actually get people to plant themselves here and actually stay and envision a possibility of being here for a long time and being invested in the state. And that is really difficult given the cost of living, like literally given the affordability crisis, right? And so I do think I agree with you, David, that voting isn't about it's a bonus if it's about being excited. At its core, it's about harm reduction. But I think California is uniquely situated because of our GDP, because it's basically a country like that's in another country, right?
Yep.
And so there is something that's a little bit different about living here. And, you know, I would love to have a candidate that's actually compelling and actually wants to be more of a big tent, pull people in kind of candidate. And I think that's what this state really needs to go to imagine the next thing, like to go back to having education that's actually affordable, like that we had it with the UC system, to go actually create the kind of public transportation infrastructure that we need to have in these large cities. Like to, you know, there are things that we could
Yeah,
do.
but who's going to do that?
I mean, I think there's someone, I don't know. I mean, you know, like, again, like, because clearly not me, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
we gotta live in the world we live in.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I think that candidate is possible, but there's something about the way politics are done in California, which I was getting to, that I think stifles the imagination. And this is another episode that I want to have is, I do think the failure of the Democratic Party right now is a failure of imagination. And that's the distinction between you have someone like an Obama who's a moderate and Zoran who's not. They are able to do something with that. So that's another episode. That's something we'll talk about.
It's a failure of chutzpah. It's a failure of courage. It's a failure of moral backbone. I don't think it's a failure of imagination. These Democrats are smart, imaginative people. They're just worried about where they're more concerned about where their check comes from.
We're gonna get off topic now because I'm like,
I was gonna say.
So anyway, I'm putting for me, Tom Steyer is making the cut because he's got the momentum. He's got the momentum. He's polling. And he's in the top 3 of the Democratic candidates already anyway, and he's the only one to me that has shown any sort of upswing. Also,
and he's a billionaire who can afford it, and you know
he can run all the ads he wants. He's not going to have a problem with name recognition.
There's no barrier for entry into the big primary for him unless he just.
If Tony Thurmond was a billionaire, he'd be the next governor of California.
Most likely.
Yeah, I mean, how many black billionaires are there though, man? Like, you know, to be honest.
Yeah. How many black governors of California have we ever had?
0. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think we had any. You know, I was because part of me, you know, actually, you know, it's so funny. I know we got to put Katie Porter up there, but I was gonna say, you know, I know if it was gonna be like one of them Babe Ruth situations where like, you're like people don't actually know they black.
Yeah, Babe Ruth.
You're like, you know, I'm just saying. If you don't know about Babe Ruth, look it up. Look it up.
The black community claims
I'm gonna say this because it's on topic. We need I want some. Can we get like some political 30 for 30 documentaries? And I want one to be the fall of the Southern California Katies, because that shit needs to be studied. Between Katie Porter and Katie Hill, who used to represent California's 25th, like those girls came up together. Those women, came up together, and like I remember both of them. And I was like, oh man, we got some Southern California heavyweights. They were like serious, and Katie Hill took herself down with a sex scandal, I believe. Oh, no, I know it was a sex scandal. Yep. There was images that came out on that. Be careful who you choose your partners, because that shit matters. And then we saw what Katie Porter has done to herself this campaign. So I'll make a documentary on that.
2 more.
I think Katie Porter's gonna stay. I think she's gonna make the cut. I think
she has the money to stay.
I think she's gonna make the cut. So you can move her. I don't know if you want to move her up to the top 3. I think she's gonna make the cut. I mean,
here's my question.
Yeah. All right. But I was gonna say, do you think Swallwell is gonna actually drop out? Because he's the obvious one that could make the cut, unless he decides or someone tells him, hey man, like you could tank this whole thing if you don't drop out. And does he do a Joe Biden and care more about himself and say, no, I'm gonna solve the problem, so I'm gonna stay in it until it's too late and they quit and then we're all screwed, right? I'm just saying. I know. I'm just trying to. I'm like, let's just think about it. You know, I'm just, you know, hey.
Did we give a comp for Eric Swallwell? Because I like the Joe Biden comp.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Sorry, I went like apocalyptic. I was just like, I'm just scared, man. I'm like, we need to do something. Do you think he's gonna quit, David? Do you think he's gonna drop out?
Man, I think it's out of his hands.
Oh my!
I really do.
Dude.
I really do, because I really think I really think it matters of if these women want to talk or not.
Okay.
And how crazy is that? That like that's what our California governor's race is turning on.
Man,
because he's the front runner.
Man, David, you scaring me, dog. You
All right. Well, I mean, you got to throw him in there.
And you want to know
what
the fun thing is, y'all? I don't really have more information than that. If I wanted to tell you more, I couldn't do it. I just know it's out there.
Huh.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
Man,
you got to throw him in there, and then we're in God's hands at that point.
Yeah, well, hey, I'll say I do what I can, but I don't know how much, I'm like, I keep trying, but
so I think we've come to an obvious consensus here, and that Betty Yee, Xavier Becerra, and Antonio Villlaraigosa need to drop out of the race yesterday. I don't know what y'all are doing. Mahan has no shot, but he's gonna stay in because he's got Gary Tan and all the kind of pseudo comfortable with Trump Bay Area billionaires backing him, so he's gonna stay. So do we move Gary Tan? Do we move Matt Mahan up potentially because we just know he's gonna stay?
Move him where Thurmond is?
Do you think he's going to stay, though? I mean, are you sure?
Yes, 100% he's going to stay.
Okay.
But for two reasons. He's got the money. He's going to have the money to stay what he wants. And it's sort of it's a little bit like an Eric Swallwell situation when he ran for president, where he's like, I don't care about winning. I know I'm not going to win, but I'm going to build my name recognition.
Man, I don't know.
Carter's just like
because I hate how we do I hate how we do politics in this country. Like when people make it about themselves and not about serving people. You know what I'm saying? And maybe obviously I'm coming at this because of my job is literally tied to serving people. Like and actually feeling like I'm trying to help. And even with this podcast, like the whole point of this podcast is for us to engage people, to help them learn about different either the history of politics or what's happening now in ways that can inform what we do in the future. And when people take that for granted and say, I want to stay in something for name recognition, not because you actually want to make a difference, like that is just such a cynical approach to politics that doesn't take me as a citizen seriously. So it's just deeply frustrating. But if he's going to stay in, man, it is what it is. At this point, man, I got to go with the billionaire, which Lord knows I'd never say that. So, hey,
And listen, this California's governor's race is going to be long. It's going to be quick. It's going to be here before you know it, but it's going to be messy. I hope it gets messy. I hope that y'all get engaged. I hope we have, helped explain things and cleared up the race for you a little bit. If you who is your favorite? Who do you want to be governor of California? If it's one of these people, if it's someone else, do you want a writing campaign? Let us know who you think should be governor of California and what your opinion on our thoughts on. We appreciate y'all sitting down and hanging out with us, and we'll catch you next time.